Network for co-sponsoring this conference and doing everything to make this such a wonderful event. And a warm thank you to my dear friend Alan Solomon, who's the chairman of the Corporation for National Service, and to the many members of the board of directors, many of whom are here, and the CEO, Nikki Gorin, and the terrific staff. With just 600 employees, the corporation operates with just 600 employees. This agency supports thousands of groups that engage millions of volunteers who change the lives of countless people every day. And we're so proud of their outstanding work that we have to give them a round of applause. And finally, the last thank you goes to every single one of you here. That's a lot of you all here. You all aren't just service providers. You're service leaders. You're the pioneers. You're the movers and the shakers. And you've done everything in your power to make giving back cool again, and that's a good thing. You have helped to make service once again a nationwide movement. And it's been said that our true calling in life is where our heart's greatest gladness meets the world's deepest need. And all of you here today have found that place. And I want to thank you for everything that you give and everything that you do. You were an inspiration to me and to all the folks in this nation who are looking on today's conference. You know that what you do every day isn't easy. Even in good times, it's not easy. And in times like these, when we're facing challenges unlike any in our lifetime, and you all know this better than anyone, I know it can feel close to impossible. When our economy falters, you're the ones who have to deal with the fallout. More folks needing those food pantries more than ever. More families needing help to stay in their homes and to pay their bills. Cities and states cutting services and leaving so many people with nowhere to turn. And just as more people desperately need your help, you've got fewer resources at your disposal. So you're making do with less staff and working longer hours and stretching every dollar even further. So you know better than anyone at this time how badly we need change right now. And I know better than anyone here just how hard our president is working to make that change. We have a president who wants to help us break out of those old habits that got us into this mess and build a new foundation for our economy, making investments in education, healthcare, clean energy, that will create jobs and preserve our planet and give our kids every opportunity to fulfill their dreams. Yes. And we're beginning to see some progress. We're starting to see some glimmers of hope, a little light at the end of the tunnel. But at the end of the day, there's only so much that government can do. Washington cannot do everything. Government can't be everything to everybody. It can't be every place at once. That's why we need active and engaged citizens like all of you to step up and do their part during these times. You see, our government might be able to rebuild some schools, but it's people that we need to serve as the mentors and tutors in those schools. It's people that we need to serve on the PTA and to chaperone kids on those field trips. Government can modernize our healthcare system, but it's people we need to volunteer to help care for the sick and help people lead healthier lives. Our government can invest in clean energy, but it's people that we need to use that energy more efficiently to keep our public spaces clean and train for the green jobs of the future. This more than anything is the key point that I want to make today, and that is this new Obama administration doesn't view service as something separate from our national priorities or or just something in addition to our national priorities. We have an administration that understands that service is the key to achieving our national priorities. This administration believes that the only way to build that new foundation for our economy is to establish a new role for service in this country. Far too long, we viewed service in our communities as largely separate from our policies in government. There's a sense that service is helpful, but not necessarily essential. That is something that folks should do maybe on occasion, particularly around the holidays. Maybe you do something, you do it to fulfill a requirement, or maybe just to fulfill yourself. But we come to believe that the real work of moving this nation forward somehow is done elsewhere, in committee rooms and boardrooms and marble hallways and West Wing offices. We've come to believe that service is just something that's a little extra, the icing on the cake, but not actually part of the cake itself. And I've seen this way of thinking play out in my own life. As you know, I started my career in a big fancy law firm, working for big companies, making big money. And when I decided to leave all of that for public service, well, people thought I had lost my mind. My mother worried that I had taken her advice to follow my heart just a little too far. And my friends worried that I was throwing away a lucrative paycheck and a prestigious career all in one fell swoop. And my husband experienced the same thing when he decided after college that he wanted to be a community organizer working in struggling neighborhoods in Chicago. There was some... And all of you here understand the power of that vision. There were many who tried to convince him to go straight to law school instead. You've heard that. Go law school. His friends all gave him a nice pat on the back before they went off to mail their admissions office applications to graduate school. And while everybody thought that our hearts were in the right place, a lot of people wondered whether our heads were on straight. And many of you probably heard these same voices in your own lives, right? The voices that tell you, well, that's awfully nice that you want to do good, but when are you going to get a real job? And maybe you've heard, if you don't get paid a lot of money for what you do, then maybe what you do isn't that valuable. Or maybe you've heard, if you really want to make a difference and change the world, you need to do something with more prestige, something more powerful, more important. But what these folks don't understand is that the story of progress in this nation has always been the story of people who chose in times of trial and struggle to serve. The founders who set forth the ideals that have animated our democracy for more than 2 centuries. The soldiers who fought and died for those ideals. The abolitionists and suffragists and people who marched and stood up and sat in to ensure the ideals of this nation would endure. The ordinary folks who reached out to the least among us, providing a measure of dignity to people who have little else. What they've done for this country isn't extra. It's not something on the side. It's not just a little icing. It's what ensured our existence as a nation. It's ensured the basic rights of our citizens. It's ensured the well-being of our children. Our history is a long testament to the fundamental truth that real change, as we've heard from someone else, doesn't come from the top down from Washington, but it comes from where? The bottom up, from citizens.